to the Great Arms channel. I'm Big Gray, and today I have a special guest with me, Jody Mackey, aka the Girl on Fire. Jody has a ton of credentials in which we'll get into later on in the interview. She also instructs pistol courses as well as courses on non-lethal alternatives for self-defense up and down the East Coast. I've had a chance to take 2 of her courses so far, most recently becoming an NRA certified instructor myself, and I'm honored to have her on the channel today. With that being said, welcome to the show, Girl on Fire.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you very much. So to get into it, we spoke about your credentials. Would you mind going over some?
I'm an NRA training counselor.
Okay.
Where I train people to become instructors. I am a certified pistol instructor, a chief range safety officer instructor. I'm a Utah Bureau of Criminal Identification instructor and a Maryland handgun qualification license instructor.
Wow, that is a mouthful. But that is actually amazing. So, tell us how you began your passion for firearms.
Sure. Well, I'm from Minnesota, so I used to shoot in my backyard with all the cans and the BB guns, and my dad actually would bring me out to train, and so I learned from him, and my mother would shoot, and so that's what we did in Minnesota.
Okay, so that was like a pastime.
That was the start, yes.
Okay, that's cool. What made you want to become an instructor, though?
Well, I started to do some marketing consulting for a firearms training academy, and I started to get deeper into the business, and then started to shoot again, and realized that I really loved it, and then also started to have women coming to me that had assaults or stalkers or domestic violence situations, and I had also been in one myself, and so it was really something that I thought that I could be part of the solution to helping people with their personal safety in general.
Right, okay. So what kind of courses do you conduct currently?
So I train people to be firearms instructors and chief range safety officers. I do concealed carry courses in a lot of different states.
Wow.
And then we also have non-firearms training division courses where we train on personal safety and victim prevention. We're trying to ultimately decrease the crime and assault statistics nationwide.
Okay, that sounds great. So where exactly do you do courses at? Like, is it primarily Philadelphia or?
Actually, we're in 9 states currently.
Wow.
And we do different courses in different markets. But we do a lot on the East Coast. From Boston to Atlanta is really where we are right now, which is really exciting. Yeah.
It's a pretty wide range of places.
Yes.
So Julie, are there any new courses or initiatives that you have going on for the future? Or?
There are. We're constantly updating our courses for the college campuses and for organizations to make sure that we're customizing them to the needs of that particular location. But by popular demand, we now have a defensive class, a defensive pistol strategic fundamentals class, because people are really interested that are concealed carrying to be trained on more of the criminal mindset and the response times and the physiological effects and all of those things. So we have a very specific type of class for that advanced student that's interested in learning those particular techniques.
Okay, so there's things for the beginners and the advanced.
Yes.
Okay, taking it to the next level.
Yes.
And so what advice would you give to like a more so new shooter, someone new to shooting and new to firearms that wants to get into it?
Sure. My advice is to really take as many classes and as much training as you can up front, because it's going to help ensure your safety as well as everyone else that is exposed to you when you have that firearm.
Right.
And it's classroom as well as the actual live fire. People tend to discount the classroom portion of it, but it's really important because you can get all of those basic fundamentals in order to be able to handle your safety aspects of it, and also the fundamentals for your marksmanship and accuracy.
Okay. So pretty much you wouldn't suggest someone just buying a pistol and...
Absolutely not. There's too much responsibility and too much to know.
Understandable, because there is a lot of people who think that they can just pick it up and go to the range once or twice and that just be it. They're professionals at firearms, and it actually takes some time and some practice.
It absolutely does. It's just like any other sport.
Okay. So with the gun crowd being predominantly men, how does it feel being a woman coming into the scene? Like, was there any adverse reactions or anything?
You know, I have them periodically, but I train primarily men, more so than women even.
Really?
And so I deal with men all the time within the industry, and it's an interesting thing because I have to really build my credibility with people quickly,
Right.
because I don't necessarily always look like I would be the expert in firearms based on my look. I also have a fashion company, so I try to be fashionable, and I don't always look like the firearms instructor necessarily.
Right.
And so I try to build my credibility really quickly with people so that they understand that I do know what I'm talking about, and I can help them be more successful with their strategies, is including marksmanship. And if people actually train with me, they see that they're successful in a very short period of time.
Right, I definitely noticed that. On to the next question. How do you feel about like colorful guns, as far as the pink and the purples and things like that, that's geared towards the female, the female market?
Sure. I actually am not a big fan of any firearm that looks like a toy.
Right.
We already have an issue with the guns made as perfect replicas into toys.
Right.
And so there needs to be an absolute distinction, because then that lends itself to more negligence as we move forward. And so I really don't want any gun that does not look like a true firearm, and I don't want the lines blurred.
Right. Okay. So Jody, with all the gun fashion and gimmicks going on, like that's geared towards the female market, and like the tactical Joes, everybody wants to be the coolest guy on the block. What would you suggest for people to stay away from?
Sure. There are many options on the market, and what I found is the majority of them are very unsafe. And so any type of holster that does not cover the trigger guard is not a safe option.
Right.
There are a lot of them that have the pouches or different types of methods of carry that you don't have the ability to keep your finger outside the trigger when you draw from it. So
Right.
it needs to be in a physical holster so that you can draw safely. Once you have your holster, you do need to practice at home with no ammunition in the area, and you constantly try to draw from concealment or draw from that holster to make sure that you're not muzzling yourself or anyone else in the area.
Okay, that makes sense. So pretty much stay away from it if it doesn't have a trigger guard. You always want to keep safety first, outside of looking cool. So is there anything else that you want to add? Any tips that you have for any of our viewers?
Sure. I think the number one is that ultimately we don't really want to have to use our firearm.
Right.
I say I'm a firearms instructor, and I'm going to tell you not to use your firearm, because the aftermath situation is really scary. And so if you want to have a firearm, and the biggest thing is to be trained and make sure that you get all of your training so that you're handling the proper safety, as well as being a responsible gun owner and handler, and having them locked at all times or inaccessible to unauthorized persons, and just really also make sure you practice and you know that gun, and so that you are ultimately able to hit your intended target. If you do have to use it, if you've exhausted all of your less than lethal options and you do need to use that firearm, you need to know that you've practiced it over and over so that you are very proficient and can hit that intended target.
Okay, great. So pretty much what she's telling you guys is always remember, if it's flight situation, flight is always more recommended, because there's a long list of things that happens after you pull that trigger. You're accountable for that bullet once it leaves, and it doesn't matter who it hits, you're accountable for it. It also comes with all kinds of court costs and lawyer fees, and it can be a long laundry list of things that comes along with it.
As well as the psychological effects that
Right.
you'll have after having to ultimately shoot someone, which is terrible. The social media aftermath. There's
Right.
a lot to think about, and so hopefully you won't have to use it.
Definitely. Okay, thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
If you like videos like this, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions for Jody, you can always register on her website, which is
girlonfire.life.
girlonfire.life, or you can check the description below. The link will also be listed there, or you can also leave your comments below as well. As always, remember, with the sustainment of our God-given rights and faith, our country can once again be great.